Okay, good Vach. The previous Rebbe said that although people say that it's customary to say a story about the Baal Shem Tov on Saturday night as a spiritual blessing to have wealth, previous Rebbe said not necessarily is it only a story about the Baal Shem Tov. It's also a story about any tzaddik. It's not only on Saturday night, and it's not only a blessing for wealth, it's a blessing for all good things. However, there's still something significant about saying a story about the Baal Shem Tov on Saturday night, and I have a story that Rabbi Mendel mentions in the Storyteller. I want to share with you. There was a Jew whose name was Avram, who had a very hard time earning a living, and he lived not far from Mezhebush. And he worked hard, and although he worked hard, he wasn't very successful financially. Things were difficult, things were tight. And his wife had heard that there's this miracle worker in Mezhebush, the Baal Shem Tov, and she told her husband that she wants him to go to the Baal Shem Tov because it's too hard for her. And this man, this tzaddik, does all these miracles with his blessings. Perhaps he could go off and meet the Baal Shem Tov, and things could change. So her husband said, "Listen, the idea came to my head a few times, but as well, I also thought the same thing. But I didn't think it was appropriate to bother the Baal Shem Tov to ask him for a blessing, just physical things. And I wasn't going to go, but I see that it's hard for you to handle this challenge. So maybe the time has come indeed to go visit the Baal Shem Tov." So Avram goes to the Baal Shem Tov. He tells him about his financial hardship. And Baal Shem Tov says, poverty is a test and wealth is a test. But if you have a firm trust in Hashem, He will not abandon you. Then the Baal Shem Tov said that when you go on your way home, you come to a river by the side of the river, under the bridge, there is a treasure. Wow. So Avram went home full of hope, very excited, and he reaches the river, reaches the bridge, and he starts digging, looking for the treasure. He's looking for some time, and he thinks, I don't have the merit to find this treasure. And he meets a Jew he knew, who was a tailor, and the Jew asks, "What are you doing here?" He tells the Jew what happened and how the Baal Shem Tov said to come here, and it didn't work out. So the tailor responds with a bitter smile. Apparently, I'm a shlemazel like you. I had the dream last night that I met a elderly man, and he told me that in this city, at the end of the street, there is a Jew who's poor, lives with his wife, and a lot of children, and he doesn't even know that in his own house, under the oven, there is a treasure. Maybe you can solve my dream, the tailor tells Avram. Avram doesn't answer anything. He says, "Have a good day." He goes home, and in his ears are clinging the words of this man, and he is very excited, goes home, and he looks under his oven, he searches under his oven, and lo and behold, he finds a treasure under the oven. And he was very excited, and he shared this with his wife, and they're very excited to see the blessing of Baal Shem to be fulfilled. And after a few days go by, and he's thinking about his good fortune, he thinks to himself, all my good fortune came to me in merit of this tailor. I really should go and share some of my wealth with the tailor. So he puts together from this great treasure that he found some gold and coins, some silver coins, and he puts it all together, and he makes his way back to that town, back to this to the town where he met this guy by the bridge, and And on the way there, he gets tired. He comes to a tree and he lies down by the tree in the shade. And as he's lying there, he sees from far away this guy's coming, approaching him. Who's approaching him? None other than the tailor. And the tailor says to him the following. He says, when you told me that the Baal Shem Tov said that there's a treasure by the bridge, and you left right away, I was thinking, you left too quickly. Maybe the treasure is on the other side of the bridge. You went on one side, maybe the treasure is on the other side of the bridge. So I searched, and indeed I found a treasure. I found a whole treasure of a chest of diamonds and gold and silver, and my whole situation is a lot has changed for the better. And I want to I was thinking I should repay the favor to you, because even though it wasn't really your treasure, I found the treasure, but I found it because of your good advice. You told me the words of the Baal Shem Tov, and therefore I thought that it would be nice to share something with you. So a regular person would probably say, okay, thank you very much. But not our Avram, not our hero Avram. Avram says, I'll tell you the truth. When I came home, I also found the treasure, and your dream was true. There was a and under my oven I found the treasure, and I brought you a package of diamond and silver and gold as well. And they both laughed at what the amazing divine providence had led them to each other, and they both found treasures through each other. And they were just trying to figure out, what does this mean? And they decided, what, let's go back to the Baal Shem Tov. Let's ask the Baal Shem Tov what this means. So come to the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov greets them with a beautiful smile. And the Baal Shem Tov said that they didn't know what to do. Like, they both want to give each other presents. Who should give who the present? So Baal Shem Tov said that Avram, you have a daughter who needs to get married. He told the tailor, you have a son who needs to get married. So how about you introduce your daughter to his son and make a shidduch? And the presents that you want to give each other, you give these presents to the bride and the groom. They both agreed with this shidduch, and the Baal Shem Tov wished them a mazel tov. And then the Baal Shem Tov said that before they decide on a date for the wedding, the father of the bride should find a poor orphan girl, and the father of the groom should find a poor orphan young man, and they should try to help these orphans get married. And the Baal Shem Tov said that how they should conduct themselves with kindness, and now that God has helped you both with wealth, the Baal Shem Tov said that this is how you should conduct yourself to continue to give kindness and goodness to others. So they were very happy and fortunate, and they did what the Baal Shem Tov said, and they merited to see children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren who were devoted to Torah and to tzedakah, good tevla shemayim tevla brias, and good for, as Torah says, tevla shemayim tevla brias, good in the eyes of Hashem and good in the eyes of man. That's the first story, and it's connected also with a theme in this upcoming Torah portion, where Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Jewish people that they are going to be redeemed. And the Torah says they did not believe in Moshe because of their shortness of breath, because of their hard work. They could not believe in what Moshe was telling them, which tells us that when we get knocked off, derailed from our mojo, we're not into what we're supposed to be into, so then we lose sight, and we're not able to be sensitive to the words of the tzaddik and to have the clear vision of the future, the coming of Mashiach. Moshe Rabbeinu is telling them that they're going to be redeemed from Egypt, but because of their burden of hard work, they couldn't imagine this to be true. And what the first thing that broke the might of the Egyptians was the plague of blood. Chassidus explains that the plague of blood represents transforming coldness to warmth. That a person turns away from being in a state of disconnect, and he just decides to put blood, to put warmth in his mitzvahs. And just like in Egypt, it was this plague that opened them up to the possibility of them being redeemed from Egypt. So too, the Rebbe said, in order for us to be in touch with the promise of Hashem, and especially the promise of Hashem through the tzaddikim in our generation, how this is the generation of the redemption, to be in sync, to be in touch with those words to resonate inside us, we have to have blood. We have to have warmth in our mitzvahs and warmth in our Torah. That's what makes the vision of Moshe Rabbeinu, the vision of the future, resonate. So the vision may be there, but we may feel like, oh, I dug and I dug and I dug and I don't see it. But the real digging has to be, like in the story, maybe the digging has to be not digging has to be in ourselves, not looking at the details of what's going on in the world as much as looking inside ourselves, trying to bring more warmth in our mitzvahs, and then we could find the treasure. Then we find the treasure, not just like in the story where the Avram found the treasure in himself and the tailor found the treasure. So in a similar way, by putting our warmth in our mitzvahs, we both in ourselves will find our own treasure of faith in Hashem. And that allows us to see the treasure of the time that we're in, the coming of Mashiach. So on that note, I want to tell you another story about faith in a tzaddik and how the faith in a tzaddik actually creates blessing. Not just that it is a vessel for blessing, but it actually creates the blessing. I'm not sure if this was a Mendel of Rimanov or another tzaddik, but he had a very devoted chassid whose name was Nachum. And Nachum was a cattle merchant. And Nachum saw that he was having a very hard time because there was a plague and a lot of the cattle were dying, and he really didn't know what to do. So he traveled to his Rebbe, to the Mendel of Rimanov, and the Mendel of Rimanov would have a tish. He would have a special time where he would speak to his chassidim on Shabbos afternoon by the shalom, special time when they would sing songs, and Nachum came there, and they were singing the song Nidachim Kovetz. Hashem will gather all the Jewish people, as read today in the Haftorah, V'hoyu b'yemahu, on that day, you talk about Shofar Gadol, the great shofar will be sounded, and all those Jews who are lost in the land of Assyria or cast aside in the land of Egypt, they all will be gathered to Israel. So the song has the words Nidachim Kovetz. Those who are cast aside, those who have been dispersed, will be gathered. But Nachum, he hears the words differently. He hears the words as Nachum Kovetz. Instead of Nachum Kovetz, he hears his Rebbe saying Nachum Kovetz. Nachum, go buy some wheat. Well, go buy some wheat. Okay, I guess I should go buy some wheat. So he stops his whole investment in the cattle industry, and he begins investing in wheat. And lo and behold, he's successful. He shares his success with the Mendel of Rimanov, and Mendel says to him, listen, all the gates of heaven were blocked. I couldn't do anything for you. I saw your predicament. I saw your plight. But it was your pure faith in the words that you thought I said, even though I didn't say them, that brought this blessing, that opened the door. In sync with this, one more story about the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov is famous for teaching us that everything that happens in the world is by divine providence. And the Baal Shem Tov students were leaving the Baal Shem Tov, and it was a winter day, and they saw a lot of non-Jews carrying a frozen Christian symbol. And they were shocked because Baal Shem Tov said everything you see is a message from Hashem. What message could this possibly have for them? And they came to the Baal Shem Tov. They asked the Baal Shem Tov, what does this mean? The Baal Shem Tov said that between being frigid and denying Hashem completely, there's a very fine line. You could deny Hashem completely and just being cold. It's very similar. Completely disassociating ourselves with a belief in Hashem, completely being disenfranchised with all that the Torah has to tell us is very close to just being cold to it, being frigid to our mitzvahs, to our Torah, to the words of Hashem through the tzaddikim. Being cold to those words is something that is very close to abandoning Judaism completely and the Christian symbol that they saw. That's the message of the frozen Christian symbol. If you're frozen, then idol worship isn't that far off. being called to Judaism is very similar to adopting another religion. But conversely, you'll see from this as well, that being warm to our Yiddishkeit, putting passion and warmth in our mitzvahs, that's what opens us up to hear the words of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu of our time was told us in very clear words that this is the last generation of the exile, this is the first generation of redemption, and we need to hold on strong because it's about to happen. And our faith in the words of the Tzaddik itself, that itself opens the door, as the Gemara says, the Talmud says, Mechilta says, it says in the Torah, "Vayaminu ba'Hashem Moshe," they believed in Hashem and Moshe as servant. So says the Talmud, anyone who believes in the faithful servant, meaning anyone who believes in Moshe Rabbeinu, it's as if he believes in Hashem himself. Just remember one more story. I'll let you guys go. I heard this story from a family member of the story. The family has never printed the story, and therefore the story isn't printed anywhere. But it's a private, so I can't say the name of the family. But I could just say the story without the name. There was this family, very prominent family, who were not blessed with children, and again they visited the Rebbe, and the Rebbe gave them a blessing for children. But at one point, the wife was so distraught that she sent a letter to the Rebbe, and she said, "I want a promise for children, a promise." Now, in I don't know how these things work. Of course, these are things in the purview of tzaddikim, but there are different styles of various tzaddikim. And the Rebbe wrote back, "Heruf b'tepelish shtick." So you don't need to do this Polish shtick. Shtick is a word that means gimmick. You don't need to use you don't need to use a gimmick. I gave you, in other words, I gave you a blessing and I meant it, and it's going to work. Just trust me. Trust the blessing. Don't. In other words, I guess what this means is like you think as among other Hasidic groups, there's a certain kind of attitude of like trying to persuade the tzaddik using some gimmick to inspire the tzaddik, something that the chassid must do to make things happen. But the Rebbe expected more from this woman and her husband. It was said, you don't need to hear from me. In other words, that I'm promising you. The fact that I gave you this blessing itself, in other words, my words, that itself should be enough. Just have the faith, and you will see, as they did, Baruch Hashem, the fulfillment of his blessings, and they were blessed with the child. So we'd have her ufam the pelish shtick. You don't need to use any gimmicks. Just have simple faith in the words of the tzaddik, and we will see it happen. The Gashmis in this physical world, the victory of Am Yisrael, victory of the Jewish people, coming Mashiach, take me mamish. L'chaim, l'chaim, a good tevach and a freilich tevach. Any questions or comments?